On today's deep dive, we're gonna make a Sissy bar from scratch. We're gonna show you all the tools, the bends, the welds, the cuts, everything you need to get the job done, as well as some tips and tricks we learned along the way so you don't end up in the urgent care like I did. Okay, so this is a old Sissy bar that we've had laying around the shop for a while. It's got holes, so it looks like it has been mounted before. And we decided to throw it on the bike and see kind of what it looks like, and it looks great. So we're gonna use it as our inspiration for the build. It's about the right height, it's got the right shape, so we're gonna go downstairs and cut some material. I'll cut it on the bandsaw, and then we can get the torches out, and I'll show you how to bend. So I think this might have been like a 12 or a 16-foot piece of material, which means I get 2 shots at it. First step is to kind of get this squared off, and I'll trace it for a rough height. So I know I want this height here as the top. I want this as a bend. There's a bend. There's a bend. And I know this is the final tape we want to. So I'll trace that out. And we will get a long straight edge and kind of just trace out the rough outline of what we're looking to get. Straight edge, whatever you need. This works really well because it's as long as the table and a carpenter square. And what I'm gonna do is just map out my bend lines so I can get them symmetrical, and my top line, and just trace everything out. And we should have an idea what it's gonna look like after the bends. So now we have reference marks, so I can mark the stock before I bend it, so we have all the bends in the same spot. I did a test yesterday just to see how tight of a radius I can get using just some bungs, and I like where that came out. So I'll use this as a template for my radius on the top side. Now we have basically what I hope for it to look like, and we're gonna try to get it there. Time for fire. Just a boss. It was a counterbore bung, I just drilled through it. And then it's a random part that we had at the shop, and it fits over it, and that'll be my inside radius, and that's the pivot. And then this will be the stop. It doesn't have to be removable. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. 2 pins welded to a table will work. I'll show you. This works the same way. The radius is a little bigger, but basically pivot and stop. It just gives you somewhere to pull against. I'm not using this one because production, and this is our production table, and I don't want to get it all dirty and messy, blah, blah, blah. Using that table. If you don't already know, Oxy-acetylene torch. Cuts, heats up, welds, does a lot of stuff. It's a great beginner setup. They're relatively inexpensive. Bottles are 100-ish bucks, 200 bucks, depending where you're going. You can get a regulator, Harbor Freight if you're starting off. It does a lot in a small package. If you can braze, you can weld. Welding's tricky, but if you get it right, it's a great start to welding. You can heat things up, you can bend things, you can get out stuck bolts. You can really cut metal too with a cutting head. It's a good little setup. Everybody should have one of these. This throws a lot of heat on the material. This is for welding technically, but either way it's a flame. For stuff like this, I like using the welding tip because I can keep the heat focused on where I want it. If I was doing it with this, it'd heat up from here to here, and I might get a kink, and I might not get this tight radius that we're looking to get. So I'm gonna use a lot of focused heat in one spot and kind of walk it around. Just kind of putting some pressure with the left hand to see when it starts to bend. Now, as the tangent plate is changing, I'm moving the heat farther down, and that's why I'm using this welding tip. So I like to flip the bend, mid-bend, so that it just makes a more symmetrical outcome. So now we have our top bend, and you can see the outer line just peeking out. Actually a little big on both sides. While I've got this first bend centered up, equal, all that stuff, I'm gonna score a line on the top with a cutting wheel, just so I can always find center at the top, because that's usually the hard thing to find. After everything's all done, I'll come weld and grind the score away. But it's way worth it to have a center line now. Now, new important part. This line that I'm scribing right now would need to be parallel to the top line, perpendicular to the center line, and hopefully equal on both sides. Looks like roughly a 45-ish. So I'm gonna eyeball 45, and I'll do a lot of throw it back on the table, make sure I'm where I need to be, heat it up some more, tweak it a little bit. Couldn't find that pocket. So I drew a line on the bar, and I put a line on the pivot. Now, if I line up both those lines, I will have the same bend spot on both sides. Now I check to see where we're at. Now the last two bends, we can kind of mock her up. Where this line was scribed was just eyeballed, and when I bent it, it got a little taller. And I don't want this gap to get longer at this bend, so I gotta make sure I put the line in the right spot so I get this distance pretty accurately. So now that I've drawn an inside line, it kind of points to where it needs to bend on the inside radius. So that's the inside edge, this is the outside edge of where I want it to be. So now I can put the same size boss right there. And if I put a line there, and I'll copy that one. And now, right where I want the radius to stop, I make a point. And then there's the line I want to bend at. And I'll do the same thing on this side. And I'll bend this way. And it'll wrap around and end up here. The piece longer so I have more leverage with my left hand. Otherwise I'd be stuck with a short piece. It might be a little wide right here compared to what we were shooting for. But that's okay, because we've got a plan for right there, and being a little wide doesn't make a difference. I'm probably gonna cut here and here, still long, just so we're not dealing with all this extra stuff. I'm not gonna eyeball the lop, I'm gonna measure the lop. So that means if it's like off a little bit, I can cut exactly a ½ inch off either side, and it'll still be symmetrical. To be fair, I was pretty darn close to begin with. Looks close. Now we're gonna go upstairs and see how it looks. Good start, at least. Just gonna need some cutting, some tweaking. It's still hot. Just wait till you see what we do with the taillights. Give you a little teaser. It might get Frenched in like that. So what I did is I took our Sissy Bar boss bungs and I kind of milled a 1/2 inch slot, knowing that we're gonna be square, because usually there's just a bore. So now it has a slot inside, which accepts the bar. Oh, and it cuts, oh bad. Day 2 of Sissy Bar deep dive. I was interrupted yesterday rudely by myself. Back to it. Boss bung. Usually there's a counter bore, so you can slip a round tube right in. I slotted it for square tube. So I'll take equal sides off of each one. Like if I need to take a 1/2 inch there and a 1/2 inch there, it should drop the whole thing a 1/2 inch down. And it's just a lot of cutting, grinding, checking, eyeballing things up. So I don't know if you can tell, but it's leaning to the right side now because it took too much off. So I'll take a little bit more off of that side. Jake and I have been staring at this thing for a couple hours. We haven't pinpointed what we don't like about it, but there's something. And we think it's the gap here. It's a little wide. I'm gonna rebend it. If you think back, I had 2 pieces. That means I got 2 shots. So I got no shots left. So I'm taking a lot of measurements. I'm not gonna wing it so much. We're close, we're still really close, but I'm gonna bend it again and hopefully get rid of this gap here. We got it where we want it. I'm ready to tack it to the bungs, and then we'll compare it to the old one, and we'll put the fender support bracket on there, this guy here. We'll put that under there, drill some holes, and then maybe do some more bending. But first tacks, and then we'll talk about what the difference was between try 1 and try 2. This little welder is set up for tacking up here. So I have a little finger switch. So I don't have to use a foot pedal, just one less thing to run around, because I'm not really laying any beads down here. It's just tacking things. I'll take it apart and bring it downstairs to weld it, but this is a nice little handy guy to have up here. Okay, so first one all the way to the left is kind of our template. It's like an old one that we kind of want to copy. The second one is our copy that we didn't like. It was just a little too wide down here. This is what we ended up with. We narrowed it up, made it a little skinnier, basically. Took some weight off the sides. Now I got drill. I'm gonna use a step drill bit because I do not wanna use a regular drill bit and go right through the fender, into the wheel, pop the tire, all that stuff. I don't want that to happen. Step drill will stop it from going all the way through. Now I figure out what size hardware I want. What I'm basically thinking between, do I want to go with 1/4 or 5/16? I think I'm going to go with 5/16 just for the bulk, a little extra strength. There we go. And I'll drill this out now, tap it, because I don't want to put a bolt under there. There's not enough room. I'll put the Sissy Bar back on and cut it to length, weld it on. I'm using a 1/4 inch. A really dull 1/4 inch apparently. If you know what you're doing, you can sharpen a drill bit. It's pretty tricky. You kind of got to come at an angle and roll it backwards. With practice, it saves you a ton of money in drill bits. Cool. Okay, so the big thing about taps is slow and perpendicular. What we're gonna do now, put the Sissy Bar back on, kind of mark where we need to cut, weld, and hope for the best. I hope you got that peak.
Making sure it's working.
Where's that whip at? Very tricky weld here. There's a lot of stuff in the way. I can't really see what I'm doing. We have a mounted Sissy bar. We're gonna kick back the top just a little bit. I've got this little string that I've been using that as my center point. What I've done is just taken it, put a couple wraps around a Sharpie, and then you can mark, and you'll know that everything's exactly the same point on the Sissy bar, as long as everything's centered correctly. But I want to know up here, so let's get a little bit closer. Cool, now we know that these marks are square to center line. It's the last time I used the welding tip because I wanted really specific pinpoint heat. This time I'm using the rosebud because I want to heat up both sides at the same time. So I want to throw a whole bunch of heat at this at once. Now you see we have a much bigger flame. So as I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep the heat equal across both sides. And at the same time, I'm pushing down with my left hand to feel when the metal starts to get soft. And that means I can start pushing. And then checking to see if I've gone far enough. After this cools, we'll put it back on the bike and see if we like it. The goal here is not to burn myself because I'm impatient. So that's our deep dive on building a Sissy bar. What we end up doing is putting the license plate on the back. And I know I said something about putting the taillights down below, but we ended up making this cool multi-size mount and it fit better up higher. So we went with that. So you might see these in the cut. These are our weld-on wire clips that I use. The wire is gonna end up coming up the Sissy bar and we'll strap them right there and it'll peek right into the taillight. Nice, cool, and finished. It looked like we really planned this whole thing out. You could leave all that off and just put the Sissy bar on. Embellishments, you can go as high as you want, as low as you want. This is where we end up. We like where we ended.